All right, we got some Bears coaching news to get into here on today's show. But before we do, we are getting so close to our next milestone here on Chicago Bears Now. We're 206 subscribers away. So if you want free Bears videos throughout the NFL offseason, hit that subscribe button. Let's get to 156,000 this weekend. Declan Doyle, Al Harris, updates on both we discuss next. I'm Harrison Graham. Happy Friday, everybody. This is Chicago Bears Now. Declan Doyle and Al Harris are drawing interest from other teams in the NFL, and we have updates on both of their situations. We will start with the Bears offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, here in just a moment. But before we do, who would you rather have? Would you rather keep Declan Doyle on this staff, or would you rather keep Al Harris? Type DD for Declan Doyle, AH for Al Harris. If you had to keep one, let me know which one you'd rather keep. So the latest on Doyle is this. We found out a couple of days ago that the Eagles were interested in interviewing him as their offensive coordinator. Now, since he's the Bears' offensive coordinator, technically Chicago could have blocked that interview, but since he's not the play caller in Chicago, and if you listen to what Ben Johnson said a couple of days ago, wanting his coaching staff to ascend in their careers, whether it be here or somewhere else, no surprise at all that they are not going to block this interview, which should take place in the next couple of days. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reporting on this, saying, quote, Philly's OC search has been all over the map, and the team is still submitting requests for interviews. Chicago offensive coordinator Declan Doyle is a name to watch. The Bears did not block Philly's request to interview Doyle, which means he's free to make the lateral move. Some see him as head coach material, and this job can be a springboard if he's the new play caller and improves Hurts' performance. And I think the big question, if you're Declan Doyle, is you're turning 30 years old, very young, you have a long career ahead of you. Do you want to jump 1 year into being an OC to become a first-time play caller in the pressure cooker that is Philadelphia and the Philadelphia Eagles? I think that's a fair question. So I think you go into this interview open-minded if you're Declan. Obviously, they've had a ton of success there, including recently. But I think you got to dot your I's, cross your T's here before you make this jump if you're Declan Doyle. There's real questions surrounding the Eagles offensively this offseason. Number one, are they going to keep or trade A.J. Brown? If I'm Declan Doyle, it's one of the first questions I'm asking them. I mean, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. I want to know if I have one of the better receivers in the NFL at my disposal. I also want to know the ins and outs of his relationship with Jalen Hurts. Could Lane Johnson retire? That seems to be up in the air. The rest of that offensive line had some issues this year. What's their health status? What's their plan to attack the offensive line this offseason? And this isn't really a question from him to the Eagles during the interview. This is probably more when he's doing his homework, studying the tape. Does he feel good and comfortable with the offense he wants to run, working around Jalen Hurts' limitations? Not throwing over the middle a ton, not a lot of under center experience. Obviously, working under Sean Payton and Ben Johnson, there's a lot of under center play action concepts. Like, can he adapt his offense around Jalen Hurts? Can Jalen Hurts start doing those things at a much higher success rate? Those are all things I would want to know and I would consider if I am Declan Doyle. And I think that is the main question here. If they offer him the job, if you're Declan Doyle, how does he feel about Jalen Hurts? If he likes him, you take that job pretty easily, right? Philadelphia has a great general manager. You know they're going to attack this offseason. Sirianni is giving whoever the OC is full autonomy to run the offense he wants. It's a great opportunity. But if you don't love Jalen Hurts, it's risky because what have we seen with the Eagles in recent years? If the offense isn't awesome, they'll just fire you after 1 year. They did it with Brian Johnson a few years ago. Kevin Patullo just got fired. He's one of Nick Sirianni's best friends 1 year in because it is a pressure cooker organization. They do not mess around. So I'll be curious to see how the interview goes, if he gets the offer. And if he takes the offer, that probably is a sign that he's willing to take this leap and feels good enough about Jalen Hurts and that offensive situation. Okay, Al Harris, who continues to draw interest among defensive coordinator openings across the NFL. A third interview request has hit his plate. We'll tell you which team that is and whether or not I think it's a good fit for him as we continue to navigate this coaching cycle. But first, I want to tell you guys about our awesome sponsor here on today's show. That is Ethos. Check out Ethos today. When you bring a child into the world, your perspective changes overnight. That was certainly true for my wife and I when we had our son a couple of years ago. And for me, part of loving my family meant thinking about their future, even in uncomfortable ways. Life insurance is not a fun topic, but it's one you need to think about. And I'm so glad I found out about Ethos. I carry a lot of responsibility in my household. If something happens to me, there are real consequences like mortgage payments, tuition, everyday bills. Those things don't just go away. Thinking about that used to be overwhelming, but taking steps to protect my family financially changed that. That's why I got life insurance through Ethos. With Ethos, you can get life insurance in as little as 10 minutes. They have no medical exams, just a few easy health questions online. You can get same-day coverage without ever leaving your house. As of March 2025, Business Insider named Ethos the #1 no medical exam instant life insurance provider. Protect your family with life insurance from Ethos right now by going to ethos.com/NFL daily. In as little as 10 minutes, you'll get a free quote and up to $3 million in coverage at ethos.com/NFL daily. That is ethos.com/NFL daily. Ethos.com/NFL daily. Application times and rates may vary. All right, Josina Anderson has this update on Al Harris that the Tennessee Titans are slated to interview him tomorrow. This would be the third team Al Harris is set to interview with. He interviewed with the Packers on Wednesday. The Commanders requested him as well. He worked with Commanders head coach Dan Quinn when Quinn was the defensive coordinator in Dallas. They overlapped for 3 years. He was the DB coach under Quinn there. I don't know if that interview has taken place. It either probably will today or maybe will Sunday after he interviews with Tennessee tomorrow. Now, an important note on this Titans opening, Robert Saleh, their new head coach, already announced that he's going to call plays. He said that's one thing he's doing differently this time. When he was the Jets head coach, he wanted to be a CEO, oversee everything. This time around, he's going to call the plays. And I don't blame him. You're a defensive guy. You get a second crack at it. You're probably not getting a third, so control what you can control, and he's going to be the play caller. That being said, if you're Al Harris, do you take that job, even though it's a forward move, if you're not the play caller? I guess I'd be open to it, but if I'm Al Harris, I don't know. Like, it would have to be a pretty significant financial bump to go to Tennessee if I'm not the play caller. That being said, he already has 3 defensive coordinator interviews that he's either done or will do over this week. He's probably going to get more. There's still 5 head coaching vacancies out there. Those teams are going to need defensive coordinators. Some of those head coach fillings, like Jesse Minter, is going to open up other defensive coordinator jobs, like the Chargers job just opened up. So it feels like he's probably going to be gone because, as we discussed yesterday, I want to give Dan Rogers credit for kind of putting all this information together in a tweet. He's got half a decade now of proof in the pudding, right? When he was the Cowboys DB's coach, they led the NFL in interceptions with 72. It's like, okay, maybe it was just right place, right time. Well, he comes to Chicago, they led the NFL in interceptions and in takeaways his first year with the Bears. The proof is kind of there. He's coached up DBs. Nashawn Wright this year had a career year. Kevin Byard had a bounce back year, led the NFL in picks, was an all-pro, got the best out of Trayvon Diggs, got the best out of Deron Bland. Both those guys struggled after Al Harris left, by the way. I think he's ready, and he has proven that he is a high-level defensive coach. And listen, you have to be a first-time coordinator at some point. Everybody that's ever been one was a first-timer at some point. So I think he's earned it. I think he's ready to be a defensive coordinator. I hope he stays in Chicago. That would be great for the Bears. I just don't think it's that likely. I think one of these jobs that opens up and that has interested in him will offer him the job. Will Al Harris leave this offseason? What do you guys think? Type Y for yes, type in for no. I think it's more likely than not that he's gone. I think it's way more likely the Bears lose him than Declan Doyle. As of now, Doyle, his only interview is with the Philadelphia Eagles. So, again, we'll see where that goes. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. My name is Harrison Graham. Hit that subscribe button on the way out the door, and have a great weekend, everybody.